Hi and welcome. You're already here in the chat. Welcome. Again, if you're watching, if you're new, we're doing live streams here every week. My name is Sarah and I am live streaming from the Netherlands where I work and live. And we have a nice group of people every week in the live chat. Talking about art, talking about learning, talking about life. So if you want to join, you can subscribe to my channel and then wait for a minute and then you can join us chatting along. It's to prevent trolls and other ghouls from disturbing us in our quiet art time. Alright, so Ariana is here, welcome. Kelly is doing raccoon work. Yes, please post a picture because we all love raccoons. They're just great. Ariana had a very failed textile dye project today. A merino cardigan, very splotchy. Is tie-dye still in? Like, can you get away with that, or does it require a total dye over? I'm not touching dyeing. Like dyeing and spinning, I knit and I crochet, and everybody else can do the dyeing and the spinning for me because I'm not touching that. So Beth is here. Hi Beth, I hope you're doing well. Yeah, let's switch, let's start. So that's looking good. I'm a pro switcher these days. I took out the reference photo, but you can find the reference photo in the description. It goes to Unsplash if you want to grab it, because I need a little bit more screen for my face and my palette. On my palette is the same as last week. I had to dig in my memory what I was using, which is Ivory Black, transparent red Iron Oxide, and a yellow brown, which is like a chromatic yellow ochre by Old Holland. And this splotch here is my Light Upon White by Schaal. I'm still not sure how to pronounce it. The French handmade oil paint maker. And here is some oleo gel by Rublev. So I started this last week on Thursday, which is, I don't like doing live streams on other days, like it messes me up. But I had friends on Wednesday, so this is how far I got in an hour, and I suppose that's fine. Yeah, I'm not really sure how to interpret that. This area has been left untouched, and this area has been left untouched. So we're gonna start with that. Have something to drink. Let's see. Ariana says it's black, and that is the second go. If it's practice, go for a third, right? We have the Dutch saying, I don't know how to translate it, but it basically means that the third try is golden, so go for the third. Hi Linda, good to see you again. Alright, where's my stuff? Yeah, so what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna try and apply a little bit of gel. So this stuff here is by Rublev, and it says here it's solvent-free gel medium of linseed oil, and basically what it means is I think it's silica. Why can I not find anything? Yeah, alright, so it's, why did I put the thing on so small, or am I getting old? Probably. Anyways, I think it's fumed silica mixed with linseed oil. So it doesn't have any dryers in it. And you can also use it to do a thing called oiling in, which basically means that you put a little bit of oil on your dried surface so that it's not so dry when you start working on it again. And by little, I mean like very little. It's really just to, it's not meant to put a layer of oil on there, but it's meant to sort of stop the absorbency of the underlying layer. So you can wipe most of it off again. And with oiling in, it's important that you only oil in the areas that you're going to be working on, because leaving linseed oil on areas where there's no pigment is notoriously not great. So let's put it here. You don't need to let it dry or anything. Let's see, said I missed last week, but I watched a replay. That's great. We say something like, yes, third try is a charm, that's it. And we have some reference to sailing and ships, because we're a sailing, shippy country. So we reference everything to ships and sailors. I bought Senile oil gel. Is that the same? Could be, could be. Yeah, you should look on the back. Like, what's important for me in a gel medium is that it doesn't have any dryers in it. I have one by Gamblin, and it's called solvent-free gel medium, but it dries quite quickly, and I think, but I'm gonna have to look that up, but I don't have it around right now. I think it has maybe a little bit of Galkit in it, but I could be wrong. But it's important when you use an oil gel medium that it doesn't have any dryers in it, and then you can use it for oiling in, or you can just use linseed oil, which is also fine. Right. Ta-da, let's focus. Let's mix some color. Let's start with the ear. Yeah. So about this, I've been working with this white for a little bit, and I'm very happy with it. I do, however, think, but I'm gonna have to send him a message and ask. So he makes colors without fillers, and I think you call them secatives, dryers, basically, or other additives to change the characteristics of the paint. But I'm not sure if that also involves stabilizers. So a lot of paints that you buy have stabilizers in them, and it basically prevents the oil from separating a little bit in the tube. because I saw a reel from him today that where he had the light upon white out, and it actually looked a little bit more heavy bodied than what came out of my tube. So I have a feeling that maybe it needs a little bit of massaging, or maybe it needs to be re-tubed. It's also a possibility. And I had the same situation with Rublev, because Rublev also doesn't use any stabilizers in their paint. But I'm gonna come back to you on that. Overall, I want to marry this white. Like, it's so great. I'm really happy because I was very happy with the Rublev white, but it's just expensive, and you know, coming from the United States all the way to Europe, it's a bit much, maybe. Beth is caught up in a replay. That's great. It doesn't have dryers. Then I think it's the same. Yeah. Or at least of the same ingredients. I think a lot of brands these days have gels, because it's popular because it allows you to add transparency to your paint without making it soupy, right? Because before gels there was only adding linseed oil, and it changes the consistency of your paint. So again, this light upon white, very low tinting strength compared to titanium white, which allows you to change the value in very small steps, right? Titanium white sometimes, especially in the darker tones, can be difficult to manage. Basically, you often add too much, and then it's very difficult to go back, right? Because you can't take it out. So my plan for this ear was to paint it very chromatic, and then if I have to tone it down in certain areas, I find that I often paint stuff not colorful enough, and then when I want to add more color, it doesn't work. Which is the reason why I often, I wouldn't say resort, but yeah, glazing saves me. So we're gonna try and fix that. So the ear is a bit weird. I think it's great. But it has a, well, it has a very specific anatomy. Once you get it, it's really not that mysterious anymore. Right? Just the basic elements of the ear. What I like about the ear is it has, well, like and not like at the same time. It's very difficult to grasp, but the ear has these areas of increased translucency, which is basically areas where you don't really have any cartilage or any bone, and it's just skin and blood. And then when light goes through it, you get a situation called translucent effect, which is also the same as wax in a candle, where if you light the candle, part of that candle gets semi-translucent, and so the light from the flame semi-penetrates the wax in the candle. You get a very specific effect. And I remember working in 3D and we had to render human skin, and translucency was always like the holy grail. It also takes an unreasonable amount of computer power to render. Let's see. I love this portrait. Thank you, Beth. It's an amazing painting. I do love ears. We do love ears, right? Hi, Suzanne. Welcome. You're working, but I'm very happy you dropped by to say hi. No. It's gonna be pooped in, all right? You pooped in. It's gonna be a thing from now on. I like the effect when the sun shines through ears. My husband has large ears and I do, yeah. All right. Let's see. So last week I tried to find some, peace in learning what I can do in an hour and just, be like, I'm learning what I can do in an hour, instead of being super frustrated over the fact that for some reason I didn't finish a portrait in an hour. And I remember just the whole week staring at this portrait thinking, couldn't you have done a little bit more? It's just amazing how insane you can drive yourself sometimes with expectations and other crappy stuff. I will say, getting the whole color layer done in one go is great. Because it's hard to go back and you know, kind of color match everything and make everything blend well. But at the same time, it's also kind of a, maybe it's a good challenge. All right, so it's a little bit too reddish overall. And oh, that's a lot of black. That's way too much. And so recently I've been trying, you know, instead of painting over areas with a less chromatic paint, I tried, and you see this a lot in Rembrandt and other painters that work in, you know, there are some of their layers in a very direct style, is that they add these sort of dabs of much lower chromatic paint, like bordering on gray. In the area that has a lot of color, in order to, at the same time, you're toning it down, as in, because when you look at it from afar, your brain sort of mixes the little spots of color. And at the same time, it allows for a certain color depth that you otherwise, if you were to paint everything in one, you know, average color, if you will, that you wouldn't get. And it's also, of course, the hallmark of the Impressionists, you know, the optical color mixing stuff. Optical color mixing stuff, you know. It's totally an expert word. I'm tripping under this LED light. Like, I need to... The summer is so short. Alright, so let's leave it at that and then get this going. Because I feel like either subconsciously, but maybe also consciously, I'm avoiding this area because I have a very strange relationship with lips, which I don't like. Linda says, I love optical color layers too. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, and yeah. Something that maybe I want to get into a little bit more. Look how droopy this stuff is. Look. Whee! I'm just here to play around with droopy paint. I have no artistic or like educated reason why this droopiness would benefit your artwork other than the fact that it's somehow very satisfying. Right. I am seriously wondering why I have this yellow out on my palette when I'm just not touching it. Okay, let's see. That's not half bad. All right. That was exciting. I think this is where a lighter tone really shines in, you know, because all of this area was dry. And the thing with transparent layers of white, also known as scumbling, is that I feel like either sometimes you have to brush so hard to get that transparency or add too much medium. But especially the really harsh brushing, which gives that airbrushing effect that I don't always like. So I feel like in this way it works a little bit, it's a little bit better. We have to, or I have to, start with the lips before I sort of mismatch all my values. I'm watching on my big TV while typing on the phone. It's amazing watching. That's really cool. When you say the paint is droopy, do you mean like soft butter or like acrylic golden open or a bit tacky? Yeah, so again, I am considering that it may need a little bit of mixing. But when I say droopy, basically more like golden. I wouldn't say fluid, of course. You would. I don't think you can find an oil paint that is literally fluid. But it also has this characteristic. Let's see if you can see it better like that. When you grab it, hold on. See? It sort of ropes out a little bit. And it's almost like gum, not as intense like gum, but the sort of string that you get when you pull gum apart is what's easier to achieve with this white. And when you add this white to a medium like the Velasquez medium or any calcite based medium, you add even more ropiness. That's a word from now on. And it sort of drags along as you push, especially when you apply thicker layers. When you drag your brush, the paint sort of wants to drag along with you. Whereas if you make it stiff, like Old Holland has a pretty stiff titanium, which is nice because it has a lot of characteristic in the strokes. But when you brush it down, all of a sudden it stops, right? So the end of the stroke is very short, right? So that's the general difference between one paint basically and the other. But yeah, because white is often used in the the more textured areas, especially in oil paint, we're often more concerned about the consistency and the characteristic of white. I don't really care if my blue is ropey or not, you know what I mean? Yeah, like I'm pretty sure we can also classify them as different yogurts. All right, lips. It seriously messes me up every time, but we're gonna give it a try. I wish I had a TV. I'm actually considering ditching the TV next year. Yeah. I'm getting distracted by my phone again. That is a bit too much. We only use the TV for streaming and watching movie. Yeah, so me too. My son uses it for his PlayStation, but we're gonna do some rearranging of the apartment next year. I get distracted by the TV. If I didn't have one, I'd probably get rid of it. Yeah, you know, if you have periods where, you know, you're incapacitated, it's nice to have something that you like. Like, I get the sort of impulse to get rid of it if you kind of feel better, but then with your next episode of not feeling better, you might regret it. Am I seriously 37 minutes in already? I feel like I'm talking too much. Too much talk. And not enough paint. Alright, let's see if we can get that corner of the mouth. Alright, struggling. Let's see. Reruns are it for me as well. I'm gonna join you in the reruns club. That is nice. Painting while laying down. That is great. Yeah, you gotta make it work. because we have to paint people. Oh yeah, that is not good. This is how I struggle with the mouth, like going back and forth. Upper lip, bottom lip. Like, I find the mouth often more difficult than like the ear, for instance, because it's such a crucial part of your facial identity and your expression as well. Like, the ear is the ear. The ear does not have an expression. It's not a sad ear. Or stuff like that. But yeah, the mouth is important. Didn't they, a while ago, I'm not really sure if it was a museum that did that, where they got a bunch of paintings, and the idea was that they were gonna sort of test if the eyes are really what determines, you know, the overall mood of the face. So they would cover the mouth and you would look at the eyes and then determine for yourself what you thought the emotion was, the expression, and then they would show the mouth. And the funny thing is that once you see the mouth, the way that you interpret the eyes suddenly changes. It's very funny. Okay, so this area here is dry. It kind of needs a mid-tone there to make that transition work. I have to say I thought it was gonna be harder working into dry paint, but overall it's manageable. I relate to Frida Kahlo. Yeah, I can imagine that. Frida Kahlo. Yeah, I don't think like you need to compare the severity of a situation in order to, you know, be able to relate to someone. in that way. Yes, you are strong. I think what Kahlo, I think what resonates with a lot of artists when it comes to Frida Kahlo is that when you have the drive to create art, very little is going to stop that. But there are situations that make it so severely hard for you to make art. And that's it's a difficult thing, I find. And I think Frida would agree. Like, I know sometimes people paint a certain picture of her online, which is fine because she is glorious. But I'm pretty sure she also had days where she was like, nah, fuck this shit, I'm out, bye. And when it comes to pain, and especially chronic conditions, there's no stable line, right? It goes up and down and up and down. You can be the most stable person in the world. I was with a neurologist last week regarding my migraine, and she was like, how's your mood? And I'm like, how do you think my mood is? Like, even when you're born stable as can be in terms of mood, chronic pain will mess you up. It's just like, yeah, that's how it works. It's one of those areas where you just keep fiddling and fiddling and it gets all kinds of overworked. How are we doing? Oh. we're definitely gonna wrap it up. Maybe we can add a little bit of stuff here. I've already given up on finishing the shirt. I made a bold attempt, but I am not in the mood. That ear is still looking very, very red. Yeah, we're gonna leave it like this, and then I think next week maybe we can glaze a little bit. Which in my case just means color correct stuff. Is it too red? We're gonna tone that down. Does it need a little bit more? We're gonna go ahead and add some color. Yeah, probably gonna fiddle with this a little bit more in terms of shape. So all right. Linda says I just have to do art. It's my passion. Yes, that is it. Absolutely. And I love this group as well. And I'm happy about that. So, yeah, next week. Summer holiday is over. Wait, let me... Summer holiday is over. So, gonna have the house to myself. Nobody in my vibe. It's gonna be great. I have so many paintings I need to finish really soon, but it's gonna be fine. Yeah, I hope you're doing well, and share a picture of raccoon drawing, please, because we need raccoons in our life. I will see you next week with some glazing, why not? And if you have any stuff you want to share with me, let me know on social media. Thank you again for joining me. And if you're watching the replay and you want to leave a comment or you have a question about all this thing that we're doing, just let me know and I will reply to you as soon as I can. And I will see you again here same time next week. Thank you. Have a great week. Bye bye.